the Forever Immigrant Story. We share our immigrant stories to ease each other's fears because competence and success are often born from struggle and, yes, from endless paperwork. If you ever lived years, sometimes decades, navigating the complex world of visas, permits, and residency cards, you know the feeling of being forever immigrant. You're not quite settled. You feel like you neither belong to your old home nor quite fully accepted your new home. Uprooted from your known hometown, yet you're building a whole life in the unknown, one form and one step at a time. This is my story. My journey started at 16 when I moved with my parents to Saudi Arabia. My dad had accepted a job there to support my future studies in Canada. That's when I received my first residency card, an Ikama. The rule was simple: return every year to renew the Ikama. The first year I managed. The second year, my university exam in Montreal fell on the exact last day of my entry deadline. I couldn't make it back in time, and Saudi Arabia revoked my residency. Not only that, they later denied me entry as a visitor multiple times, even when my dad had a heart attack, and I submitted all the evidence. It was my first big lesson as an immigrant. The rules are rigid, and one missed step can shut down doors permanently. But my journey didn't end there. At 17, I started university in Montreal. From there, my path became a long series of applications: study permits, work permits, permanent residency, and eventually Canadian citizenship. I didn't always take the easy way out. For example, when others left Quebec to avoid learning French, I stayed. I worked 9 to 5, then attended French class every night from 6 to 10 for over a year. It was exhausting, but it guaranteed me the outcome I wanted. After my application in 2 weeks, I was approved for Quebec residency. Within 8 months, I had Canadian permanent residency in hand. I also never took chances with paperwork. In case my PR cards gets delayed, I proactively asked my employer to extend my work permit for another year, just so I'd have a cushion if things went sideways. Of course, it meant more paperwork and walking in and out of the border, but it guaranteed success. Fast forward to 2020, the pandemic stranded me in Europe. My Bangladeshi passport and Canadian PR card were stolen. I was stuck for months until I finally received the travel visa I needed to return to Canada. That was the moment I realized until you are a citizen, no card, no matter how permanent it looks, is truly secure. By the end of 2020, I became a Canadian citizen. My Canadian journey was long, but I did all my paperwork myself, no lawyers whatsoever. Canadian immigration was straightforward at that time, but I was ready for a new challenge. In 2021, I started a new chapter in the United States. F2 visa, H4 visa, F1 student visa, CPT internship visa, OPT work permit, H1B lottery win, green card application started, then canceled when because I switched job, H1B transfer again, which I just got. And here I am, 16 years later, still in this forever immigrant cycle, still talking about it. It would be easy to let all this define me, to live in constant stress, fear, and doubt. But here's the truth: immigration is just part of my life, not the definition of it. I have learned to stay diligent, double check my paperwork, and then let go of what's beyond my control. Some things take years, some gets delayed, and sometimes you have to start over. But if you keep moving forward, one form, one exam, one step at a time, you will get there. Not every story has a happy ending. Immigration isn't always about victories either. Some chapters end in disappointment, no matter how diligent you are. For example, when I was a Canadian permanent resident, Canada had a lottery based sponsorship program that allowed permanent residents and citizens to sponsor for their parents. Since 2018, I applied for my parents' lottery every single year without fail. In 2021, I left Canada for the US, but my application were still sitting in the backlog. Then, in 2023, I finally got the golden ticket, an invitation drawn from my 2020 application. It should have been a moment of joy, but by 2023, I was no longer eligible. I didn't live in Canada anymore, and I didn't have Canadian income to prove I could support them. It was heartbreaking. My parents are retired now, living in Bangladesh. I wanted to give back to them after all they sacrificed for me, to bring them closer in their later years. But the rules were clear. I couldn't even transfer the invitation to my sister in Canada because sponsorship invites are non-transferable. That's one of the hardest truths about immigration. Sometimes even when you do everything right, timing just doesn't work for you. Maybe one day I'll bring my parents to the US once I become a green card holder. Until then, I carry both the gratitude of what I've achieved and the grief of what I couldn't. Immigration comes with funny stories too. Not all immigration moments are stressful. Some are just plain funny, in hindsight at least. Take this one. When I was extending my Canadian work permit, I had to physically land again by going to the US Canada border. I didn't have a car or a license then, so a friend offered to drive me. The problem? He didn't have a US visa. So he dropped me off at the edge of the border highway where cars and trucks were lined up. There I was, professionally dressed, heels on, clutching a giant folder of paper, walking between trucks on the highway towards the immigration. One officer looked at me in disbelief and said, "Ma'am, what are you doing walking here?" After I explained, he laughed and he told me, "Ma'am, you need to find better friends." That's when I realized immigration officers are not as scary as they seem when you've done your homework. They're human too, and if you show up prepared, you actually make their job easier. He was so impressed with my paperwork that he granted my extension right away. Another time, when I was applying for my F1 student visa, I carried my immigrant trauma with me, the instinct to over-prepare. By then, I was already a Canadian citizen, but I still showed up with an entire binder, years of bank records, proof of residency, travel histories, you name it, I had it. The officer looked into the required documents and said, "Now your money." I nervously poured out every financial supplement documents I bought, bank statement, tax report, sponsorship, guarantors, scholarship confirmation, explaining each one like I was defending a thesis. He listened patiently, then looked at me and said, "This is all great, ma'am, but I just need you to pay the $12 fee, please," and that would be it. I stood there in disbelief at how simple it had become. That was the moment I realized sometimes the hardest part of immigration is unlearning the fear it had ingrained in you. That was it. All I needed was a small fee. Meanwhile, I was weighed down with a binder full of evidence. It was the easiest change of status immigration process I have ever experienced. That day, I realized sometimes the weight of past struggles makes us prepare for battles that no longer exist. Advice to my younger self. If there's one piece of advice I wish I could give my younger, nervous self, it would be this. Regulate your emotion through it all. I'm at a point in my life now where I am no longer faced by the immigration process. I trust the system, I do my due diligence, and I take the action the moment it's required. Then I let it go. But my younger self, she spent countless hours rethinking and checking every application after submission, holding her breath until the outcome arrived, replaying the worst case scenario again and again. It was exhausting. With time, and yes, with experience, I've learned that the worst case scenario is rarely as catastrophic as our imagination makes it. Back then, in Canada, my worst case felt like the end of the world. Losing everything, being forced to return to Bangladesh, and feeling like a failure to myself, my parents, and everyone who sacrificed for me. Now, my worst case looks very different. Moving across the border back to Canada if the US doesn't work out, still disruptive, sure, but not devastating. These days, I prefer to live in the best case scenario mode while preparing for the worst. I trust my preparation, trust the work I've done, and trust even setbacks are detours, not dead ends. I actively try to live in the present and stop my brain from playing all future scenario movies. Takeaway for my fellow forever immigrants. Emotional regulation is a must. The nature of all immigration process is the uncertainties. Try your best to keep your emotion regulated through these uncertainties. Practice both gratitude for victories and hope and acceptance and resilience for failures. Peace of mind is precious. Stress won't speed up immigration. Do your part and homework. Take the most guaranteed success path, then let go. Choose the assured path over the easy path. It may take longer, like learning French at night for a year, but it pays off with stability and peace. Be diligent, always. Double check paperwork, stay on top of deadlines, and prepare ahead of time. Get help when needed. Lawyers, mentors, colleagues, lean on others when the process feels too heavy. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Ask and learn about how others did it successfully, and you'll figure out your own path. Chances are someone else is out there who went through the exact same situation. Join online groups and forums on Facebook, read Reddit, get consultations. Don't let immigration define you. It's a chapter of your story, not the title. Keep building your life while you wait. Remember, there's always a way forward. Mistakes can be fixed, delays can be overcome. If you're reading this as a fellow forever immigrant, know this, you're not alone. We are many and we are strong. Keep doing what you're doing, one careful step at a time. The journey might feel like forever, but every step is building the life of your dream. This is Maisha Taranum. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast and reading my blog post. I am so happy that you're here.